all, welcome to an episode of Masha Schwartz Art Tips, and today we're gonna talk about how do you put together your canvas on a budget. A lot of artists struggle to buy large size canvases because they're extremely expensive, and if you are not making a lot of money for your art at the moment, it is a huge expense for you to put together your art pieces. And today we're gonna discuss how do you do it from raw materials, what do you need, and simple tricks for making this a fast and easy process. So let's get to it. Our helper today is Gary, and he'll walk you through cutting the large pieces of wood. He'll tell you about the types of wood that we're gonna use, and he'll also show you how to assemble them.
Good afternoon. So like Masha said, I am the helper. So I'm going to show you kind of what I do to cut the frames, measure it out, and get everything set up. We went to Lowe's. We got these 2 by 2 by 8 foot beams. And what you need to do is when you're picking them out, you kind of want to eyeball them and make sure they're straight, otherwise your frame's going to be crooked. So this little contraption we got here, it's a woodworker's table. You can find them pretty cheap on like eBay or like a Restore or something like that. I think we paid 50 or 60 bucks for it. This isn't really necessary, but this makes the job a lot easier. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just lining up the edge of the wood so I feel a smooth edge across both pieces, and then I'm just tightening it down. This makes it really easy for you to measure, cut, and do everything all at once. So yep, makes it really good to measure and see everything's going nice and smooth. I'm using a drywall square ruler, which makes it really easy. So the size that we're making right now is 36 inches by 28 inches. So if you want a perfect 36 by 28 inch frame, you also need to know the width of both the pieces put together, which right here is about 3 inches. Oh, sorry. So yes, right around 3 inches. So what we're gonna do is we can take 3 inches off of the 36 side, or take 3 inches off the 28 inch side. And I've just been taking it off the 28 inch side, so we're gonna do a cut for 36 inches, and we're going to do a cut for 25 inches to get your perfect 36 by 28 inch side frame. So pretty simple. Line this up, measured it up. We're going to go to 36 inches, and it's easier to cut 2 pieces at the same time because that way you know exactly they're the same length. So when you assemble the frame, there's no awkward shapes or to the frame. Just mark twice. Line up the T-square. Get yourself a nice visible line. And then now you're ready to cut. You don't need the most expensive saw if you're just doing something like this. This was a skill saw from Walmart, probably $20. So, and I use a Craftsman blade, which is like a few bucks. So nothing fancy or anything like that. But you just want to kind of line it up. Eyeball the blade. If you can kind of point right there, you can kind of see where I'm cutting. And headphone users beware. That simple. So now you have your 36 inch lengths done. So this is going to be the top and bottom, or the two sides, I'm sorry. And now, time to do the 25-inch length. Take the same piece, line up the edge again, make sure it's nice and smooth. Tighten on the table. All right. Actually, 25 inches is pretty short. Make sure it's still nice and smooth. Nice and snug, it's not going anywhere. Get your, you can use a tape measure, you can use a ruler, however you measure it, just make sure you get a nice straight line. You don't want it crooked or anything. And I'm gonna mark off at the 25-inch mark. And on the bottom side, correlates to the 23-inch. And line it up. Make a straight line. Just something you can easily see to make your cut. All right, line it up with the groove. And I like to line it up on the side as well to make sure that I'm cutting straight and it's going completely straight. Because of how thin this is, you kind of lose your tracking mark pretty quickly. That spot right there, just to let you know the cut was going crooked, so don't ever be afraid to stop, reline up, and cut. It's perfectly fine, the saw can handle it. All right, now you have your 4 sides to your canvas frame. So, we just happen to have these pallets in the garage, so this kind of makes it easier. If you have a flat surface or like a table or anything, this is just gonna make it a lot easier to assemble. What you can do is, so we know now that we want to get 28 by 36. So these are already 36 inches wide, so we know we don't have to add them to the outside of it. And these are 25 inches, so adding the both of them. Excuse that. Pay attention to which ones you're assembling. So, you're gonna line these up right here. If you come over here, kind of see what I'm doing. So, this angle right here, right there, you want to make sure that's nice and flush. Once you have that nice and flush, to make it easier for myself, I just use a little C-clamp. So that's going to prevent this from moving whatsoever. And what I like to do is just take a little drill bit. Let's see what size this is. 3/16 drill bit. And just drill a pilot hole for it. All right, Alright, so now that you got the pilot hole drilled, it goes through this piece and to this piece. It's so you don't split the wood. And what we have now are some fast and tight wood exterior screws. You just really want some wood screws that are pretty long, considering how thick these two materials. You want it to bite it and get a good seat on the material. I went with 4-inch screws. I just gives you a nice good seat. Don't necessarily, you can get away with a 3-inch screw, but I just kind of prefer 4-inch screws to make sure it's nice and tight and won't flex or bend at all. So now I have a screw. Just go through the pilot hole that you just drilled. I like to leave a little bit out of there while it's clamped, and the reason for that is the wood's not really gonna pull itself tight while you're under the clamp. So I take the clamp off and finish tightening the screw so it's nice and solid. So now that's just one side. Move over to the next side. You have a nice little canvas frame. Now the only thing that's left is to sand this down.
Guys, this next step in the process is optional, and I recommend it if you don't want to get different pieces of wood or small pieces of wood in your skin by an accident. I like to sand it down. We're just using a basic sander, and it's gonna get really noisy when I start this, but I just wanna say that you wanna polish every edge and the outside edges and the back edges and a little bit on the corners, just to make it easier for yourself when you start to stretch the canvas. there we are, all done. Now your canvas is now your canvas frame is nice and smooth, and you can easily run your fingers through it without getting nicked. I do recommend wearing gloves for this part of the project, just so you don't accidentally get splinters. And now you no longer need gloves for your frame. All right, next we're gonna cover how to stretch canvas over top of this frame. I did get pre-primed canvas. If you're working with canvas that's not primed, you are not gonna need any pliers for the process, but the primed canvas is a little bit harder, so you wanna use a tool to get the canvas over top of this frame. For this next portion, we're gonna be stretching the canvas. I bought already primed canvas. As you can see, there's white gesso on it. You guys can get non-primed canvas as well. And I went ahead and cut out the square that's 2 inches bigger all around my canvas, so that when I pull the canvas over, I have a little bit of a lip where I can staple the canvas onto the frame. I just use regular scissors to cut it out to approximate frame. You guys can measure it out exactly and then cut it out, whatever works for you. But you want to start on the side that's opposite of the actual primed side if you're using a primed canvas. And if you're using a non-primed canvas, it doesn't matter which side you start on. All right, you're gonna place your canvas such that each side can easily fold over and you have some place to staple. And I recommend checking every side just like this, just to make sure that you have enough canvas all around, because the last thing you want to do is try to pull your canvas over and you don't have enough there to really make your frame. When you start stretching your canvas, you're gonna place one staple in the center of your frame, and you're gonna go all around doing this. I recommend doing opposite sides first. That helps you stretch the canvas through. So once you do that, you're gonna have something that looks like this. When you do your very first staple, do not pull the canvas, because your canvas has no stretch anywhere. So you might pull it off the original placement that you put the frame on there, and you may actually shift some of the material and then not have enough when you're starting to stretch. So initially your frame will look something like this, and then we can start stretching it by going in any direction from the staples that you've already put down. And I usually like to put them every couple inches, and I would put one staple down or 2 staples down on one side, do the same thing on the other side of the staple that I've just put down. And again, you're gonna work the opposite side. If you have a stretched canvas, I recommend using the stretcher pliers. We purchased these for $13 on Amazon. Any stretcher pliers really work well, just as long as they can help you. If you're using a non-primed canvas, you do not need to purchase these, because your canvas will have a lot of give. The primed canvas is a little harder, and the heavier you buy it, the harder it's going to be for you to pull the material over the frame that you've created. So again, leave a few inches over and use your pliers on the inside to pull the material over the frame that you've made. I typically don't go right into the corner. I go just, an inch or so away from the corner. And we're leaving the corners for last. And I'll show you guys how I do the corners. Now for the corners, the way that I like, as you can see, there's a lot of material here. And the way that I like to fold these is to fold one side over like this, one side over. So it creates a nice clean line. And then I like to fold this over so that it aligns with the sides of my canvas. If I need to push some fabric under, I do that, just so I have a nice clean line, like so. And then I like to staple it over on this side and staple it over on this side. There are a lot of different methods out there to do corners. There's no right or wrong method. It's just your own preference. And we're gonna do the same thing on all the other corners here. I usually try to avoid placing staples on the side of my canvas here, along here, just because it looks unattractive. But if you have kind of a small piece of canvas, then go ahead and place staples there. That's also okay. A lot of the canvases that we buy come with staples there. So once you're done, kind of push on your canvas to see how it springs up. That means you have a tight canvas. If your canvas looks a little loose, one thing that you can do is pour water on this side of the canvas and really let it splush around like that. Set your canvas down for half a day to a day, and it's gonna penetrate, the water is going to penetrate into the fibers of your canvas that are not primed, and it will help them tighten, and it will actually stretch your canvas. This works both for any dents and as well as just tightening of your canvas at the very end. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you've learned how to stretch a canvas in a cheap way, and I hope to see you again. Remember to subscribe below.